the sheet that I handed out after the exam about the 2 options for completing 100 points. Did not? Did not? Anyone lost theirs already? I need another one. Pass this over, please. Just for clarity about this, on the syllabus, on the first day when we went through the syllabus discussing how many points were lab, how many points were test, there was this nebulous other 100 points that I said I would figure out later what that would be. This is it. All right. This is not bonus. This is part of your 1,000 required points. You need to do option 1 or option 2, one or the other. So look into those, see which one is going to work better for you. I need to know on the 22nd, that would be Monday, I guess, which option you're going to go. And so if you're thinking about doing the service learning one, and I would recommend that one really as far as time investment goes, then don't wait till Monday to contact them. Find one of these that seems to fit your interest, contact service learning before this week is out, have them go ahead and make arrangements for that, and that way you'll know whether what you're wanting to do is doable or not before the 22nd. If you're going the quizzes route, then you're telling me on the 22nd what it is. Is 22nd Monday?
21st.
Okay, whatever. Monday, we'll go with Monday. All right, whatever Monday happens to be, you let me know on Monday which of these routes that you plan to do. And the quizzes will become accessible the next day for those of you that are going the quiz route. Yes?
If you're already volunteering with one of these places, would I be able to use that?
If it is one of these places, then you would need to arrange with service learning to have them verify that. Because what's going to happen as far as service learning is you have 10 hours to do and a 4-page paper. You'll present me with the paper, and service learning will present me with an email saying these people met their requirements. And so there has to be something official through the service learning group saying that you've completed those 10 hours. All right. So yes, that is allowable, but you would have to arrange it through service learning anyway. Yes.
How many questions are on each quiz?
It varies. Some of them have a lot, but they're rather short. Others are more extensive and more calculation based. The thing about those is the way those are set up is there's 50 of them, so they're worth 2 points each. It's based on completion with 80% or better, so you don't have to worry about what grades you get. All right, you don't have to make A's on those quizzes to get the full points. As long as you get 80% or better on a quiz, then you get the full 2 points. So scoring 95% on the quiz is really no better than scoring 80% on the quiz. 80% is enough to let you move on to the next one. Now you do have to do them in sequence. You can't just pick out the ones you want to do and do them in that order. You start at the beginning with definitions and significant figures and unit conversions and things like that and work your way up. They are multiple choice. Probably 90% of it is multiple choice. There are a few where you would type in a numerical answer. But over 90% of it is multiple choice, yes.
And how many attempts do we have?
It's unlimited attempts. Yes.
No, can you do like 10 quizzes and stop and then like do 10 more the next day? Or do you have to like
I do not believe you can do 10 of them in a day.
Okay. But like it's not gonna hurt you if you like only do a couple in a day and then
No, but they are, if you're comparing the 2 options, number 2, the quizzes, is a significantly larger time investment than option 1. If you figure those quizzes, 50 quizzes, if you figure those as even 20 minutes each, you can do the math on that. I can't do that in my head. But 50 quizzes at 20 minutes each is a lot of hours. Let's just say that. And if you get hung up on one and you take multiple attempts to get past that one will hold you back because you can't go on to the others. They have to be done in sequence. Yes.
About the first option, so do we need to contact these organizations?
No, you contact Service Learning, and Service Learning will contact the organization. You tell them which organization you want.
The service learning here.
I think it's on the Strawberry Plains campus. It is a Pellissippi-run thing, but I don't think they actually physically have an office on this campus.
So you can just email them.
So emailing them is the way to go, yes. And their email address is on there. But they'll make the arrangements for connecting you with them and for the verification after the fact. Other question? Yes.
Any service hours or through service learning, can we apply those to Tennessee Promise as well?
Can you apply what?
To Tennessee Promise?
That's a financial aid office question. I really don't know how that works. But now that may be something to do, if you're going to check with financial aid, do that before Monday. And that way you can pick, hopefully that will work, and you can double dip that way. If you pick the right organization, maybe that will work. But definitely look into that before Monday. Other question? This is not extra credit points or bonus of any sort. This is required points. It's 100 of your available 1,000 for the course. Now, other thing as announcements, something that is extra credit and bonus, which you'll be getting an email about, and I think I've already mentioned, is on October 3rd and 4th, the Science Club is going to be out at Milton Hill Dam helping to coordinate duathlons and triathlons, basically swim, bike, run events. We help with the setup, the breakdown, monitoring the bike course, make sure they all stay on track, that sort of thing. If you're able to do that, if you're interested in doing that, then send me an email. 10 bonus points for doing Saturday, 15 for doing Sunday. The reason for the difference in points is Sunday is a longer event. I hope to have the definite hours for that from the director before the week is out. But I'll send out an email either tonight or tomorrow to the whole class in general, giving us approximate time so that you can gauge better whether you'll be able to do that or not. But that is an event that we do as a club, and it takes a lot of people, hence the offer of bonus points. Question about that? Yes.
I have a question about 15 quizzes. We have to submit them by what date?
November 20. It's not 15, it's 50.
Yeah, 15.
All right. So, to start, write out electron configurations for these particles. Abbreviated is good. I'm going to start an attendance sheet. Please sign in. Abbreviated is fine. What's up here now is the two neutral elements. Question about those? How to get those off the periodic table. All right. Now, the distinction here, when you start talking about reaction, is that phosphorus is a nonmetal. Remember the zigzag line. Nonmetals tend to gain electrons and become anions. So when phosphorus reacts, it's going to react by gaining electrons, and specifically, it's going to gain electrons right into here in order to try to get that octet. Valence electrons we defined as being outer level S and P. How many valence electrons does phosphorus have? 5. It wants to get 8. Therefore, there's room for 3 more, and by reacting, it will form a -3 charge, and the configuration for that would just be adding 3 more electrons into that 3p sublevel. So 3s2, 3p6 would be the electron configuration for the phosphide ion. Question about that? You just continue to put them in until you reach full valence, correct?
Like on a test, will you tell us when it needs to be abbreviated or when we need to add it back?
Yeah, I'll tell you either complete configuration or abbreviated configuration, yes. Question about phosphorus to phosphide. This is the configuration for sulfur. Plain, neutral, sulfur. Without looking at the periodic table. How many valence electrons does it have? 6. And being a non-metal, it's going to gain to fill that out. So how many is it apparently going to gain? 2. And so by gaining 2, the configuration would wind up looking like this. And by gaining 2, it becomes a -2 ion, correct? Now there's patterns of how you can recharge off the periodic table. That sulfur column, they tend to form -2 charges. But the reason they tend to form -2 charges is that the neutral element is already exactly 2 electrons short of the octet. Everybody in that column is that way. And that's why they tend to form -2 charges. That's the only charge it will form. Calcium, on the other hand, this is a metal. Metals tend to lose electrons in order to get an octet, and sometimes they lose more. And we have to be careful about pulling electrons out because it makes a difference on whether those electrons are valence or non-valence. Core electrons you don't lose, period. But the things beyond that core, some of them are valence and some of them are not. That other category we talked about. So what you've got with calcium is an argon core, and beyond that, 2 electrons in the 4s sublevel. Is this valence or not? It is, because outer level S and P sublevels are your valence, correct? And that's S. And the thing about valence is you don't just chip away at the electrons 1 or 2 at a time. When you lose them, you completely empty out the sublevel. It's an all or nothing thing. And so that calcium, it's not so much that it's losing 2 electrons, well, it is, but the way to think of it is not that calcium loses 2 electrons, but calcium empties that sublevel, which just happens to be 2 electrons. But what it's doing is dumping out the whole sublevel, and that leaves you with an argon core. There is no such thing as calcium plus 1, where it loses one of those 2 and keeps the other. It doesn't happen. It's all or nothing. when you're dealing with valence, and that's not just S, but S and P. When you're dealing with valence, it's an all or nothing thing. So that's calcium atom and the calcium cation for their configurations. Question about that? All right. Next, let's look at configurations for gallium. And lead. Bismuth. Uranium. Abbreviated, please. And hafnium, HF. Go ahead and do the abbreviated configuration for each of those, and then we'll look at them in terms of ions. Configurations for neutral gallium and neutral lead are up here. Check your answers on those and keep working. If there's a question, please ask. going to move the hafnium line to the top of the floor. This is what you should be getting for the neutral elements. Question about any of these? Yes.
You said it doesn't matter the shorter we put the D in there, like in the hafnium, like we did do that already. Like
Yeah,
you
I
said-
mean, if you put, that's just as good. As long as you're showing the right levels, sub-levels, and right number, then it's all fine. All right. Now, all of these are metals, and so in every case of these, we're going to be removing electrons to try to form cations. So it's a matter of which ones get removed and where you stop. Go ahead.
Why is it 61?
On uranium?
Yeah.
That would be your 57th. Where is it? No, 89th electron. This is 3, 4, 5, 6 for the D block. The D block starts on level 3. So this is 4, 5, and 6. And you only put in that 1 before you go into the F block. What's your atomic numbers? Okay. You're not reading necessarily left to right across the page. You're going in order by atomic number, which until you hit those inner transition metals is left to right across the page. But always follow the atomic number. All right, so we look at this, and the first thing we key in on is highest energy level. So we got 4s and 4p. 4p would be higher energy than 4s. So the first thing to go would be emptying out the 4p. How many electrons is that gone? Just 1. So losing that 1 would convert neutral gallium into gallium as a +1, because it's only 1 electron gone. What would be the next thing to lose? The 4s. And this is still valence. So we're emptying out that sublevel. That would be losing 2 electrons. And so that would convert our +1 to a +3. You take the configuration of the +1 ion and pull out 2 more. Yes?
So are all the sublevels until you get to the argon core valence?
No. Valence is outer level S and P.
Outer level.
D's and F's never count as valence. So at this point, all the valence is gone. The next thing we would look at is pulling electrons out of this D. And the pattern there, when you're dealing with non-valence, is you remove electrons individually until you hit a form that's symmetrical, meaning completely full, completely empty, or exactly halfway full. A D sublevel is 5 separate orbitals. So if it's empty, then they're all alike, of course, but if it's exactly halfway filled, then all the orbitals are alike, and that's symmetrical. Or if you get to where you're completely filled, then that's symmetrical. But when you're removing electrons from that, you remove it until you strike something symmetrical. Now this one is 3d10, which means this one is already arranged like this, and that's already symmetrical, correct? So that's full, that's stable, you're not going to be able to remove any more from that. that's the end. Because that 3D10 is completely filled, that makes it symmetrical and stable, that means that's end of the line.
How about the forest? Isn't it like for the forest too?
It is, but you have to treat valence and non-valence differently. It makes a difference on whether you're dealing with valence or non-valence. Remember when we first defined octet rule, we said valence was the outer level S&P, and those are the ones that definitely will react. And they react in all or nothing fashion. But it's the D's and F's that are kind of the gray area. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. The pattern is they'll react to try to become symmetrical. They won't react if they're already symmetrical. It comes down to symmetry. These are the only two charges that gallium will ever form. Do you see how to get those out of the configuration? Do you see why there are no charges higher than +3? Because that would require busting up something that's completely full and symmetric. Lead, if this is neutral lead, then what's the first thing it's willing to lose? 6p2. That would be removing 2 electrons, and so that would form lead as a +2 charge. And this would be the configuration for it. Where would you go next? 6s. And you'd be pulling out both of them. Where would you go next? Yeah, you're right. I mean, the next thing you would look at would be the 5D, because that's the next highest energy level you've got, correct? But when you look at that 5D, it's completely full and symmetrical, and therefore it's not going to lose any. And so that's going to be the end of the line. These are the only 2 charges that lead will ever form. There's no such thing as lead +1, 4 +3, or anything higher than 4. They just don't exist. Because those are the only things that are going to happen. Go ahead.
Will you always go for D before you go for F to take it out of a cation?
Well, we're not going for D before F, we're going for 5 before 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay? You're going highest level and working your way down. So go by the level number. Now see, the reason we did this out here, when you're comparing 6S and 6P, those are both level 6, so level was the same. That's why we went to sub-level. Okay? When you're looking at level, we had a tie. So we went to sub-level, and P is higher than S. Okay.
Does your number have to come before your plus or your minus?
No.
Okay.
Like PB +4, that's fine. It used to be that charges were listed as +4 and oxidation numbers as 4+, because there's a slight difference, and that's all hopelessly blurred. So one's as good as the other. Makes no difference. And you'll see me do them interchangeably. Question about those charges. Predicting those charges out of that configuration. If this is bismuth, predict its charges. What charges can the element bismuth form?
+3.
+3. Good. Is there another charge it can form? +5. Is there another charge it can form?
No.
No. That's it. Okay. Okay. Question about getting those? Yes.
How do you know what charge?
By looking at what's going to be removed. This would be the first thing to go, and that's 3 electrons gone. So losing 3 electrons makes it positive 3. And if this goes with it, that would convert your +3 to a +5.
So the first things to go will always be S and P.
Yes. Because that's level 6, and level 6 is higher than 5, which is higher than 4. You start with your highest energy level and work your way down. Go ahead.
How about if we did not do the XE? If we start from the very beginning, 1 S2 to S2.
It wouldn't make any difference on your prediction, because when you start to remove things, you remove them from the outer layers. And everything that's down on the interior is going to be full, because if it wasn't full, you wouldn't have added on more layers. Go ahead.
So you're saying it could be +3 or +5?
No, well,
Or does it have to be +5?
both of these exist. It just depends, which one you have depends upon the situation. But they both exist. And actually, as far as which one is more stable,